morning. Don't you look swell today? Actually, swollen.
Oh.
So have some. There's a fresh pot on the table. Seriously, you look like hell. Your hair is sticking straight up like a... Oh, it always does that. Never mind.
Ha, ha.
Did you dream about the fire and the hang guy and that lion thing last night?
Leopard, not lion. Did you get anything on Malia Gedde?
Well, I did get her address, but you're a little out of your league here, big fella. The Geddys own 3 local hospitals, just to name a few of their assets. They run in very high circles.
Did you get an address?
I got the address. I suppose this has nothing to do with the fact that Malia Gedde is incredibly gorgeous. I should have known you wouldn't go for a rich, ugly socialite.
And that address is...
Hey! Far be it from me to postpone your total humiliation. It's 557 West Ingram. That's a garden district, a state city.
That's all I wanted to know. And yes, my dear, Malia Gedde is the most dangerous-looking diversion I've ever seen. Ouch!
Ay, men.
Times Picayune, dated June 19, 1993. A front-page article describes the most recent of the Voodoo Murders. Gabriel scans it but learns nothing new. The article reiterates that the voodoo aspect of the crimes is fake. Gabriel shivers. It looked real enough to him. Elsewhere, there's an article about the history of Jackson Square, called La Plaza d'Armas. Under French rule, it was used for executions, firing squads, hanging, even impalement and breaking on the wheel. Yikes! Of course, these days it's mostly a hangout for tourists, street musicians and local artists. Gabriel also scans the Aquarius horoscope for the day. Chances of a dark star rising on this day. Do not trust your instincts.
I feel a dark star rising, all right. Seen any good movies?
I saw a great documentary last night on pyramid excavations.
You mean small, dark places that haven't been touched in centuries? Sounds right up your alley.
Well, it did help me gain a better understanding of your mind.
Gabriel checks the drawer again, just in case life as we know it changed significantly since he last looked. It's a gift certificate left over from yet another dismal failure of a promotion.
I trust you can live without this old gift certificate.
Knock yourself out.
The $20 gift certificate for St. George's looks pitifully new and unused. The gift certificate is written up generically and has the store's name and amount penned in by Gabriel himself.
So what do you think of this gift certificate?
I think that promotion was the best idea you ever had, and I mean that sincerely.
See you later.
Uh-huh.
The Garden District is famous for its elaborate old plantation homes and mansions. This particular mansion is impeccably groomed. The huge trees bear beards of Spanish moss. These trees have been here for 100 years. They're not going anywhere. Perfectly groomed hedges run along the front of the porch. Potted roses mark the entrance to the house. Gabriel didn't come here to mess with the plants. Broad steps lead from the walk to the door. Tall, narrow shutters provide beauty and protection. Gabriel wouldn't presume to close their shutters. The shutters are attached to the house. The windows are made of thick, heavy glass. The only thing Gabriel can see inside is even thicker drapery. It wouldn't be worth breaking into Malia's house. Gabriel doesn't want to do anything to Malia's windows. The front door of the Gedde Mansion looks unusually solid and heavy. Gabriel can't get inside unless he's invited. This door is pretty solid. The doorknob is brass, polished to a high shine. The door is locked. The knob won't move. It's a brass door knocker.
May I help you? I'd like to see Malia Gedde, please. I'm sorry, but unless you have an appointment or official business, I cannot announce you. I have a fine selection of magazine subscriptions for sale. We do not welcome solicitors. May I help you? I'd really like to see Malia Gedde. I told you that unless you have official business with Miss Gedde, I cannot let you in. Encyclopedias? Go away. May I help you? Are you tired of polishing silver day in and day out? We don't have silver. All our utensils are solid gold. Oh, I see. Well, I represent Loomore Armored Cars, and beat it, and comb your hair. May I help you? Please let me in. No, go away before I call the police. I do have official business. Really? Please tell me the nature of your business.
The man looks intellectual, polished, and impervious. He gazes at Gabriel with a superior eye. Gabriel wonders if he's Malia's secretary, bodyguard, butler, or something more personal. Better not try that. The man looks ready to whip up an army at the slightest notice.
Mind if I ask you a few questions? Yes, I do mind. Does this do anything for you? No, it does not, sir. Just as I thought. Good day, sir.
The electrician has left his tools behind. He must plan on returning. Gabriel is no handyman. He has an aversion to screwdrivers of the non-liquid variety. Why do that with the electrician's tools?
Got a second, officer?
What can I do you for?
I'm here to see Detective Mosely.
He's in his office. Go on back.
The ceiling-high windows are unchanged elements of this renovated French Quarter building. The building is temperature controlled. The windows stay closed. There's a photocopy machine in the office area. There's nothing in the copier to copy at the moment. It looks a bit heavy. The copier is not voice activated. Gabriel skipped the copier repairman classes at vocational school. Gabriel scans the bulletin board and sees a lot of bad photographs and worse writing. It's a file cabinet. Gabriel wouldn't be allowed to access that file cabinet.
She's not bad.
She probably wouldn't cooperate.
I wouldn't mind trying. Can I ask you a few questions, ma'am?
I'm sorry, sir, but I really have to finish these reports.
Just a few questions?
Officer Frick or Detective Mosely could probably be more help, sir.
Excuse me, officer.
Yes?
So, what's it like being a policewoman?
The glamour never ceases.
Excuse me, officer.
Yes?
You know, that uniform looks great on you.
Uh-huh. Is that a compliment, or are you asking to borrow my dress?
It's a compliment.
Well, you just never know around here. Thanks, but I'm married.
Excuse me, officer.
Yes?
Could you get me some coffee?
Are you speaking to me?
Why, yes.
Wow. Deja leave it to Beaver. I'm the police photographer, sir. You might be able to find someone around here dumb enough to get coffee for you. But guess what? It won't be me.
Oh, thanks, anyway. Excuse me, officer.
Yes?
Oh, never mind.
Fine. I'll get back to work.
Can you tell me anything about this?
Nope.
There's a temperature gauge on the wall near Mosely's office. The security cage has been removed by the electrician. The gauge is fixed in place. Mosely's office door is unassuming, unlike Mosely himself.
Mostly my man.
Night, I had a feeling you'd show up. Oh, it's getting cold in here. It's freezing in this office. You never know it was June. Woo! Damn, it's cold.
Mosely's office looks a lot like his room at college. Logs of unsolved cases, perhaps? Mosely must have 1,000,000 of them. Gabriel would prefer to touch as little of Mosely's stuff as possible.
Not me. I've seen how Mosely organizes stuff.
The door leads out to the lobby. Nice polyester. Looks like something Mosely keeps around for formal occasions. It's not Gabriel's size or style. That's funny. That window is a mirror on the other side.
Who's that?
Frank's. What a babe, huh?
Art prints of the mall variety. Mosely's bookcase holds old magazines and binders. Police department memos and other didactic blurbs. Gabriel can't do much with her from this side of the window. Strange. He's had that sensation before. An intercom. How high-tech. Gabriel wouldn't know what to say. Unfortunately, the only dialogue to be had in this room is with Mosely. That intercom would be of little use outside this building. A microwave. If Gabriel knows Mosely, it's used exclusively for frozen corn dogs. Gabriel doesn't want anything to do with that microwave.
No, really. No, thanks.
Mosely's desk has more groin on it than on his head. Mosely's phone. Gabriel doesn't want to use the phone here. Mosely was one of those beefy guys in his youth. Now he's getting lumpy. The badge in his front coat pocket is set off particularly well by the gold polyester of his jacket. Not even the police department can get Mosely to operate any faster.
This is not a man's encounter group. So, how's it hanging, bud?
Lousy. I hate crime scenes. People are sick fucks. You know that, Knight?
I'm starting to get that impression. You been feeling okay lately? You look like hell.
Me? You know, I can't sleep at night, what with thinking about the case and thinking about Annie.
I can relate. Played any b-ball lately?
Does it look like it? I'm so out of shape I'd probably have a coronary just looking at a ball.
I'm out of it too. We should play sometime. Get back into shape.
Man, I'd love to, Knight. I'll let you know if things ever settle down.
Anything else new?
Just work. Sorry I don't have more time to chat, bud.
Can I ask you about some stuff?
You're the writer. Ask away.
How about getting me some coffee?
Coffee? You want coffee?
Should that surprise you?
Nah, you've always been a caffeine addict. It's just that what we got here hardly qualifies.
So, I'm desperate.
It's your stomach. I'll get you some when we're done talking.
That long?
All right, I'll go now. Don't touch anything while I'm gone. Here, drink it.
Thanks. ask you about some stuff.
You're the writer. Ask away.
What's the status on the Voodoo Murders case?
It's going. Can't seem to make any progress, though. Sluggish damn case. It's weird.
What's the status on the Voodoo Murders case?
You're as filled in as me.
I got those photographs you left for me.
Really? Great. What'd you think?
Astonishingly lifelike.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Got any more ideas for photos for the book?
Nope, I think we have everything we need.
Okay, but you shouldn't underestimate the power of beefcake, my friend.
Tell me about yourself.
For the book?
Sure, why not?
Okay, what do you want to know?
How'd you like working on the police force?
Are you kidding? You know I love being a cop. In New Orleans, it's the best place in the world to be one.
What are your plans for the future?
Well, you know, I don't like to count my chickens before they're hatched, but I don't see why I can't be the chief of police of New Orleans someday. I already know the mayor, and my record is one of the best in the department.
I'm sure it's just a matter of moments, mostly.
Yeah, you'll see.
Got any hobbies?
Yeah, making your life miserable.
I'm serious. Don't you shoot or chew or something like that?
No, I'm a frickin' ballet dancer. Jeez. Yeah, I was #1 at the Louisiana State Fair Marksman Contest. I play trumpet, too. You know, put your lips together and blow.
How's your home life?
Oh, real funny, Knight. Why don't you just bring in some frickin' salt? Well, you know Annie left me. My home life is shit.
Right. Sorry about that. Just tell me anything at all.
Remember how we used to play monkey in the middle? We used to piss off our senior year teacher. What was her name? Ms. McKelly? You'd act like you were gonna toss her an eraser or something. Then you'd throw it to me over her head. And we used to do it at your grand's, too. Like with the remote when she wanted to watch her soaps.
Yep. And it was a great way to pick up women in the library hall. Oh, those were the days. Just tell me anything at all.
You know, my doctor told me I've got a little family of ulcers starting. I wish this case would end so I could get some rest for a change.
Just tell me anything at all.
My back hurts.
Just tell me anything at all.
For the book, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was young. Or a fireman.
Fascinating. Just tell me anything at all.
I'm 6'2".
You are not.
Oh, come on. I'm close enough. Just write me up that way.
Oh, God. Just tell me anything at all.
You know, I kind of like women with dark hair.
Yeah, I know. It's a regular thing with you.
Now that grace.
You're on your own with that one, pal. I don't even want to know. Oh, nothing. Never mind.
It's your dime.
Have you ever called the hair club for men?
I'd rather have no hair than your hair, Knight.
So how'd you ever find anything in this office? It looks like ground zero.
Hey, I get my job done. I'm a detective, not Betty Crocker.
Trying for a real estate job with that coat?
No, are you trying out for a janitorial job with that hair?
Are those new shoes? What are those, hush puppies? Kind of a mud brown suede kind of a thing?
Hey, I'm on my feet all day, all right? Is that okay with you?
Mostly. I'm being perfectly sincere.
Yeah, you and my grandmother. Right.
You know, you have a unique way of wearing clothes that's, well, the way they hang, kind of pleating over that stomach of yours, drooping off of your butt.
We can't all have the body of a 12-year-old like you, Knight.
You know, if you started carrying a lollipop around, you might get more respect as a detective.
Go to hell.
I got those photographs you left for me.
So you said. Did you think of any other shots for the book?
A cop author photo might be nice.
You and me? Together?
Why not? Of course, you'll have to try to tone down your masculinity.
Well, okay. I'll call the police photographer. Franks, come here a minute, would you? And bring your camera.
What did you need, Detective Mosely?
We need a picture, please. And make it a good one, huh, sweetheart?
Sure, sweetheart.
Say, chintzy.
Was there anything else, Knight?
Let's take another one.
Christ. Okay. One more. Franks?
Ready? Smile.
Okay. Anything else?
How about one of me and Officer Franks?
Gee, I don't know. Franks? Just kidding, Franks. You want to get me fired for sexual harassment, Knight?
Well,
Yeah, ha. Now, is there anything else, or can I let this lady go back to her desk?
hold on a sec while I go check my hair.
Good God, Knight, make it fast.
Looking good, kid.
Would you just get in here? Hurry up, would you?
Okay, ready.
Thanks, hon. Let me know when you got it developed. The photos, that is.
Yeah, sure.
It's hot in here. Dang, the air conditioning must be on the blink. Are you hot? Man, I'm hot.
Mosley's coat is on the chair. His badge is in the front coat pocket. Mosely wouldn't let Gabriel mess with his coat.
Can I ask you about some stuff?
You're the writer. Ask away.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
There's voodoo that goes on in this city, sure. I looked into it a bit at the beginning of this case. But the voodoo stuff found at the crime scenes is all faked. It doesn't have anything to do with the real stuff. I know. I asked some experts. It's intimidation tactics, that's all.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
I told you, don't worry about that part of it. It's all faked.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
Lots. Can you be more specific?
Do you know anything about the killers?
At least 20 people attend the killings. We know this from the variety of footprints found at the scenes.
Footprints? Aren't those as good as fingerprints?
Can be. But we'd have to have a suspect in custody first, and the suspect would have to match one of the few distinct prints we have. Most of the footprints are smudged, trodden over, unreadable. These guys are so casual in their expertise, it's maddening. Like they know we'll never find them.
How many murders have there been so far?
7 murders have so far been linked to the Voodoo Murders case. Now, the first murder occurred about 8 weeks ago. The MO was the same in each murder. Lake Pontchartrain was the 7th.
What kind of evidence have you found?
No fingerprints, a few bare footprints. Found a few fibers, but not many. The weirdest one was leopard fur.
Leopard fur? Describe the crime scenes.
Well, there's the corpse itself, minus the heart. Around where the body was killed, we find marks and flour and blood. There are traces of wax from candles, red and black. Ordinary wax candles, so the lab reports. Also blood and feathers of chickens. Also goat's blood. And plenty of the victim's own, of course.
What's the coroner say?
The victim's heart is always ripped out of the chest and missing. We haven't located a single one of them.
Oh, lovely. Any idea what they do with them?
Don't even want to know. Also, the coroner says some of the victims had heart attacks before the incision. Literally scared to death. The knife wounds are consistent with a long, narrow, wavy-edged knife. Probably a ritualistic dagger.
Any witnesses?
Nope. There's never been a single witness. No one's even heard a disturbance. It's damned weird. Like they just don't want people to see, and so nobody sees nothing.
Know anything about the victims?
The victims are all out-of-towners. We still don't know why.
Oh, nothing, never mind.
Sure, no problem.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
You and me grew up together, you tell me. It's a pretty nice place, even seeing the stuff I see. You know, the quarter's getting a bit too wild, though. Getting hard to control. Not quite what it was when you and me used to hang here, but hell, I've never known anything else.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
I'm too sentimental to say anything else about it.
Do you know anything about snakes?
The only thing I know about snakes is I don't like them.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
That's coming up, isn't it? We get some occasional weirdness in the quarter, but nothing much. Used to have a lot of strange things happen, though, or so I hear.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I don't know much except what I already told you.
Do you have any idea what Cabri sans Coeur means?
Hell no. Is that French? My mother spoke it, but I always had a hard enough time just speaking English.
True enough. How about getting me some coffee?
But what am I, your slave?
Hey, I'm working my butt off here.
Yeah, fine.
Some people are never satisfied.
I think I'll just borrow this badge.
Hey, what are you doing with my coat?
Nothing. I thought I saw something crawling on it.
Just drink this.
Thanks. Tons. I mean it. I copied those marks from the lake.
Really? Good for you.
Do you want to see my sketch?
No, we have our own copy, Knight.
I picked up this scale at Lake Pontchartrain.
Really? Wow, that's a great idea for the book. Me endangering my life investigating at a snake-infested lake. We don't have to mention that it's probably from a harmless local water snake.
I have that photo of you graduating from the police academy.
Yeah, my mom loves that one.
I have that murder photo you left for me.
Good. Just don't let anybody know I gave it to you.
I wouldn't show it to a soul. I have this.
That's nice, but I'm busy with the real investigation tonight.
I'll let you get back to it.
Ciao, baby.
May I help you? I've got important business with Miss Gedde. Yes, I'm waiting for some evidence of that, sir.
Gabriel is carrying Mosely's badge. The badge says New Orleans Police Department and Detective Mosely.
My name is Detective Mosely. I'm here on police business. Really? How interesting. Wait here. I'll inform Miss Gedde. Miss Gedde will see you. Right this way. Miss Gedde will be down shortly. Thank you.
What can I do for you, Detective?
Mind if I ask you a few questions, Miss Gedde?
I assume that's what you're here for, Detective.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? Why would you want to know about that, Detective? It's rather silly, isn't it?
There's nothing silly about the Voodoo Murders.
But that voodoo is faked. That's what I've read in the papers.
That's what the papers say, all right.
But you're not convinced?
No, frankly, I'm not. The police department isn't known for its imagination.
Oh. Well, I can see that your imagination is considerable.
Are you sure you can't tell me anything about voodoo?
I really don't know much about it. Isn't there some place in town that you can find out about that sort of thing? A museum or something?
I believe there is a museum.
Then maybe you should check there.
Are you sure you can't tell me anything about voodoo?
Quite sure.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
The murders? Only what I read in the papers.
And what do you read in the papers?
I'm sure you know much more about it than I, Detective.
Can you tell me anything about what happened out at the lake?
I wish I could, but I've never seen or heard anything unusual at the lake, and I do spend quite a bit of time out there.
Gabriel is trying to impress the girl, not to make her gag.
Does this mean anything to you?
No, I've never seen anything like it.
Okay, thanks. Does this mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't. Sorry.
I should be going.
All right.
Thanks for your cooperation, Miss Gedde. Have a good day. Malia.
I hope you get your man, Detective.
See ya. Beautiful.
Good luck, Detective Mosely.
Welcome, my friend.
Hello?
I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
Dr. John is a huge man. If his manner weren't so pleasant, he'd be intimidating. Given the man's size, that doesn't seem advisable.
This is quite a place you have here.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. I have dedicated myself to the preservation of this unique culture. It is gratifying to see others reap the fruits I have sown.
So where'd you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there. We accept donations of any pertinent items.
Did you ever get any wackos in here?
You mean besides yourself?
Yeah, besides me.
I do not care to make those kind of judgments, Mr. Knight. All are welcome here.
You're a big guy, aren't you? Do you work out? Play sports?
I do not play basketball, if that is what you want to know.
Who, me? No, you just look like such a natural athlete.
I do find ways of keeping fit, Mr. Knight. After all, our bodies are temples.
You sound like Grace. I should get the two of you together.
Is Grace your wife?
No, she just acts like it. So what do you think of our summer weather? Have you ever seen it so overcast or so muggy?
It is unpleasant. The heavens are not pleased these days.
Nice outfit.
I prefer simple cotton to dead flesh, Mr. Knight.
I'll have to remember that. So, how is the museum business?
Those who truly seek understanding are few, Mr. Knight. But even one can be an audience.
Yep, sounds about like my shop. Could I ask you some questions?
That is why I am here.
Do you know Malia Gedde?
Should I?
She referred me to your museum.
Many have read about our museum in the newspapers, Mr. Knight.
That's a good point. Are you sure you don't know Malia Gedde?
Quite sure, Mr. Knight.
Tell me about yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us say that I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No. The museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reasons.
Just tell me anything.
I am a vegetarian.
Really? I can't imagine living without meat.
That must be the hunter in you, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I do not care for small talk, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am not an easy person to get to know. I am a very private man.
Isn't that unusual for someone in the museum business?
Not at all. My displays speak for me.
Just tell me anything.
Not everyone can come see the museum, so I occasionally do public speaking on the subject of historical voodoo.
Anything coming up that I might attend?
No. But then, you have me all to yourself right now, do you not?
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then, let us discuss something else.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States as far as I am concerned.
What is it about New Orleans that you so admire?
It has a real culture of its own, Mr. Knight, amid the horrid blandness that is Americana. New Orleans alone has a voice.
Spoken like a true New Orleanian. Do you have anything else to say about New Orleans?
I have already given you my opinion, Mr. Knight.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo? Or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo, and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and they are many in their religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I, personally, am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Is there anything else I should know about hoodoo?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo. Hoodoo is of interest to those who study rural folk traditions, but it will not aid you in understanding true voodoo.
Tell me more about current voodoo.
There are many voodooians in New Orleans. They often do business selling gree-gree, telling fortunes, providing luck, and occasionally misfortune. Perhaps you would like to meet a voodooan. We refer those who seek a deeper experience with voodoo to a local practitioner, Magentia Moonbeam.
Sure, I'd love to meet her.
She lives on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine. I will call her and tell her you might stop by.
Great, thanks. Tell me more about current voodoo.
You have tapped my resources. My expertise is really historical. Perhaps Ms. Moonbeam can be of further help.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade, but African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves, but the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively.
The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importing of slaves from that region.
So, how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves.
Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans.
Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal bond. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John and the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, a single power emerged. This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
I've given you as much detail as I can, Mr. Knight. Look around the museum if you desire more information.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaus, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique. The original, the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire. When the Widow Paris began to practice, there were many voodooans in the city. By 1830, she was voodoo queen of all New Orleans.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Widow Paris was a hairdresser for rich Creole ladies. She also paid household servants to spy for her. Between the two, she knew everything about everyone who mattered in New Orleans. She was not above using her information to appear psychic, to intimidate, or even to blackmail.
You sound as though you admire her.
For a black woman in the mid-1800s to gain power is an incredible thing, Mr. Knight. However, she achieved it.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
She kept a pet snake, danced with it too. She held traditional voodoo ceremonies out by the lake. She took herself seriously, very seriously. But she was not above selling tickets for her events to curiosity seekers. She was not above using voodoo any way she could to make money, that is for certain. But if she had been in another line of work, in another age, that would have been interpreted as entrepreneurial genius rather than a sign of fraudulence.
Hey, you don't need to convince me. I admire anyone that can actually make a living. Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
It was Marie Laveau who defined the voodoo that is truly and uniquely the voodoo of New Orleans. She invented hundreds, if not thousands of spells, potions, charms, and incantations. These form the basis of the modern practice, not to mention the folk tradition of hoodoo.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
Her daughter, Marie Glapion, took over when the Widow Paris got old. Most people thought it was the same Marie Laveau. Both Maries encouraged that point of view. The Widow Paris died in 1881. Marie Glapion had been reigning a long time by then. After the death of the Widow Paris, other voodoo queens surfaced, and by 1890, the cult was fragmented again. Marie Glapion just sort of faded away.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Laveau tomb, where one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. It is a popular shrine for practitioners and tourists alike. I myself take tours through the cemetery on a regular basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
You have heard everything about Marie Laveau that a layman might expect to understand.
Do you have any idea what Cabri Saint-Gar means?
I fear my French is not all it should be, Mr. Knight.
You're sure you haven't heard the term Cabri Saint-Gar?
I am sure, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum's snake, Mr. Knight. They are beautiful creatures, do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
Is the snake yours? Do you use it in your practice of voodoo?
I admire the spirit of the snake, Mr. Knight, but snakes like the museums can be quite dangerous to handle.
You didn't really answer my question.
I think I did, Mr. Knight.
I'd really like to know more about your snake.
There is really nothing more to say, Mr. Knight.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in voodoo.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I do not know the origins of St. John's Eve. I only know that it was a night of ritual long before voodoo came to New Orleans.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I have little else to say about that subject.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
The killings in the newspaper? I know that they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
What makes you think the Voodoo Murders aren't being done by local practitioners?
Voodoo is a popular boogeyman, Mr. Knight, especially in New Orleans. Anyone can pretend to use it, just as anyone can pretend to be a black belt in karate, and for the same reason, to intimidate. I know voodoo in this city, Mr. Knight, and believe me, it is not about killing. Even the police have stated that the killings have nothing to do with local voodoo.
So you know nothing about the Voodoo Murders case?
I neither know nor care to know, Mr. Knight. My only possible interest is in how it might affect the public's attitude towards the museum. So far, it has not been an issue. No one has even had the bad taste to bring it up. Until you, that is.
Could you look at this and tell me if you recognize anything about the ritual?
This is truly offensive. This is from one of those recent killings, is it not?
Well, actually...
But the police already know that this so-called voodoo ritual is fake. Voodoo is a respectable religion. This kind of thing has nothing to do with voodoo in this city.
Fine. Let's say that's true. Are you sure there's nothing about the items in this photo?
There is nothing about this sickness that I would identify as voodoo. Nothing.
Thanks for looking then. Are you sure you don't recognize anything about the ritual in this photo?
I told you, sir. That has nothing to do with voodoo.
Right. Sorry.
Perhaps Gabriel should learn more about the scale before showing it to anyone.
Do these marks look familiar?
They look like the scribbling of a child to me.
Okay, thanks. Does this mean anything to you?
I cannot say that it does. Please, do not touch the drums. They are authentic.
Authentic what?
Drums. Do not touch them.
That snake.
Is deadly, which is why the cage is out of public reach.
I see.
The python is quite dangerous. I would stay back if I were you.
Thanks for the advice. I wish Malia Gedde was permanently grafted to my thighs. I wish Grace were as hot as she looks. This coffin is so small.
How observant of you, Mr. Knight.
Is it for dolls or something?
It symbolizes the afterlife. It is purely decorative, I assure you.
Imagine that. What does this do?
Turn that thing off.
Sorry.
We have air conditioning.
Yeah, I see. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Come back again.